Hey guys, George Elias Presents here, George Elias, and with the man Vinny, the man behind Whomp Stomp, Never Hike Alone. Yes, he's here. First of all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate you. Love the shirt, man.
Of course, thanks, man.
And I got 13 questions with Vinny. All right, so here we go. And so you can say whatever the hell you want. Even if you want to say no comment, that's fine. Of course.
How's profanity?
You can say whatever the hell you want.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, shit. There you go. Fuck it. Anyway, they're all, of course, Friday the 13th related because we're both fans. You know, it's just two fans of Friday the 13th going here. So, question number one is, which is your favorite Friday the 13th fan film and why? I mean, Friday the 13th film and why?
My favorite Friday the 13th film is Part 6, Jason Lives. Always has been since I was a kid. I just love Jason in that film, the unstoppable force. I thought that Tom McLaughlin's direction in that was like spot on with, you know, the lightning and the rain. It was a film that focused really on heightening the fear of Jason rather than having to fulfill kind of the TNA aspect and do those things. It's one of the most enjoyable films, and it doesn't have any nudity in it. And it was the one I always watched as a kid. I'm also a big fan of the final chapter as well.
Okay, that leads on. Who has been your favorite actor to portray Jason and why?
And that's why Final Chapter sits at number 2 is because Ted White is my favorite Jason. I think that his performance in that film is you know, unmatchable, I think, by anyone else. I think everyone else has done a great job, but Ted White's, I don't know, there's something about his presence on screen, the way that Jason's portrayed in that film that makes him very scary.
The energy,
the energy, like just the way he attacks and some of the scenes that they're in. Some of the kills in there too. I think Part 4 really has some of the best kills in the series. So I really like the Jason action in that. I would say that 4 and Ted White is my favorite.
That works. I hear you. So now my next question is, what is your favorite way that Jason has killed someone?
I've always enjoyed the Part 2 machete to Mark's face going down the stairs in the wheelchair.
The guy in the wheelchair?
Yeah,
that's
like
brutal.
I know, it's so brutal. Some dude in a wheelchair is like he's about to get laid, and all of a sudden, right in the face, and he goes down. But like I just think about like what goes into that stunt, of the fact that I think that there was somebody actually in that chair riding down backwards. Which is
no
insane.
CGI back then, people.
No, I mean, it didn't look like a dummy. I mean, it looked like a real person was in there. I like that. You know, yeah, I mean, that's a good one. I'm trying to think. You know, I really actually love, one of my other favorite deaths is actually Pamela and Marcy getting the axe to the face. I think that's always like a memorable kill from the franchise. One of the most brutal pieces of prosthetic work, you know, with the axe in the face.
Oh, yeah.
So good. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what I try to do at the end of Never Hike Alone with Axel getting it in the chest. Like, the face, for us to do it all in a one would have been too much for us to apply it.
Yeah, of course.
But that's kind of what I was going for, was like the frontal
Tom
axe.
Savini, man.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. So, next question for you is, what is your favorite way Jason has been killed? The way they stopped the guy.
God. You know, I love Part 6, Tommy fighting. You know, it is Part 6, because he's out there. It's the most epic ending. He's out there in the boat in the ring of fire. They lock him down at the bottom of the lake. And, you know, it's not even like the way they kill him. It's just the way they lock him down there, of course. Megan kills him with the propeller.
There you go, yeah.
But I think that whole scene, it really scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, because after that time, I used to live on a lake. So when I would go swimming, I used to think that Jason was under the water and he was going to grab my foot. So it really freaked me out.
That must have been horrifying as fuck.
Yeah.
Not pass. Yeah, it's like going back to the first one. Remember when Kevin Bacon gets the spear through the neck?
Yeah.
I had to sleep on my side as a kid because I was afraid, she was under there.
Make sure you could dodge it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, next question. What are your thoughts about the Friday the 13th game on NES?
On NES?
The Nintendo.
Oh, man. I didn't get it when I was a kid. It just confused the hell out of me, and it took until I was an adult and I could play it on an emulator and I understood the game a little bit more.
Yeah, of course.
I actually learned how to play it, but I used to it used to scare me. In the house I grew up in, I found out later on when we had been there for a few years that somebody had killed themselves in the house.
Oh, God.
And the room that he killed himself in was the room that we had our video game system in. So I used to play NES in this room, knowing that somebody killed themselves in there, and then being deathly afraid of Jason, and that, like, music used to creep me out, and so I'd be downstairs just terrified playing this game, and I couldn't play it for more than
it's
like 20
not as bad as people say it is it? Not that bad, is it?
It's pretty bad. I mean,
I
don't think it's bad. I
it.
enjoyed playing it. It's clunky, and it doesn't really follow Friday the 13th, but I mean, there's a little bit of Mike Tyson Punch-Out in it. There's a little bit of Mario. It's, you have to dodge.
Yeah, with that old, yeah.
So, I mean, once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. And then the music, I think the best thing about it is the soundtrack.
Music.
Yeah, the soundtrack's amazing.
There's actually a really awesome guitar cover of that,
I don't doubt it.
out there. So yeah, I'm not gonna say it because I don't know if I can get in trouble. All right, my next question for you is: since we've seen Jason fight Freddy, who would you like to see Jason face now, and why?
I think I'd love to see the Jason versus Leatherface comic come to life.
Holy
I think that
God.
there's a really cool storyline within it. There's a lot of cool artwork in there to say if someone did like an animated version of it. I would love to see that. I think that that would be a really interesting crossover. And there's actually a story in it, a story about family and things like that. So you can actually dive into Jason's mythos and his backstory about his family or growing up with Pamela and stuff like that. So I think that could be actually a really interesting way to do a crossover rather than the typical like, oh, Jason versus Michael or Jason versus something where it's just about the fighting. I think that the Jason versus Leatherface story in the terms of Friday the 13th offers an interesting view and a different view into the world.
I gotta check out that comic. I've heard of it. I've never seen it. Oh, there you go. See? My next question now, going to your film. Was Never Hike Alone always the title for your film? If not, can you share some of the working titles? I mean, if you want to.
The only other title that was associated with what became Never Hike Alone was called, I think it was called March 13th, 1989. And it started off as, that was the original script for something that was what Never Hike Alone became. Because Never Hike Alone was always the idea of what we were going to accomplish first.
Okay.
So Never Hike Alone used to be a much simpler idea, much more grounded thing, where it wasn't somebody on like an adventure hike, it was more somebody on a day hike. And they were just going in and they had found it. And when I realized that I wanted to take it into the aspect of someone who is an adventurist or going on the hiker, I had this other script that was about somebody who was hiking the Appalachian Trail and had been 12, 13 days into a trip, was looking for the right path back to the normal trail that he was supposed to be on, and then cross Camp Crystal Lake. And that one was called March 13th, 1989. And it was set in 1989, and the character would journal. And he would write it in a journal. And so I brought it back to that time, and there was a whole thing where he was going to go, stopped in town, very much like an Annie scene, and then ended up. I think it was really, really cool.
But very.
But then I had the idea for Never Hike Alone, which is very social media driven, and it was more about phones at the time when I first started it. And when I realized that I wanted to take it to the next level, I kind of took the two ideas and crossbred them. I took March 13th, and I took that concept of long form journaling and turned it into vlogging, and then took that and kind of like found an equilibrium between the two projects. But Never Hike Alone was always the one that it was what we were going to do, and that's what it was always called. It was just took another script that I had written another time and brought in some elements from it.
Oh, perfect. I love it. Great choice in the name. Oh, here's a it might be a tough one or an easy one. If there was one thing you could change or one thing you could add to Never Hike Alone, what would it be?
Oh.
You can answer either one or both. It's up to you, man. Whichever one you want, dude.
Wow. There was one scene that I didn't get to do. I don't know if it would have made it better. I think the way that it cuts from like Andrew going from his confessional back into the camp, I think the way it works right now, it wasn't the original intention, and I'll tell you what the original intention was in a minute. But I think it was a nice pause in the story, and it led into Act 3 of our story really, really well. But the original idea is that when the camera died, we were going to stay with Andrew, and we were going to hear those coyotes from the tent scene closing down. And so we were going to realize that he was out in the middle of the forest, and maybe Jason wasn't his problem. Maybe now nature was going to take care of him. But as the coyotes got closer, they would start to growl and fight something, and you realize that Jason was waiting just behind that rock for Kyle to stick his head out so he could kill him. But the coyotes attack Jason, and we do a whole scene where Jason's fighting coyotes, which I thought would be a really cool scene. And then you have Kyle use that window to escape. And so by the time Jason kills all those coyotes, all the other ones were obviously as a distraction. So it was kind of like a motivation for the day. We're going to do it all with sound and let him do that, but we didn't have time to build that in the sound library and stuff.
I actually like the choice you went with, though. How it dies, and he's like, he's talking to his parents.
Yeah, I think up there, and I think a lot of the things that I wanted to add to Never Hike Alone, I took that care to put it into the Never Hike Alone web series. Like a lot of people
coming
asked
soon.
about. Yeah, coming very soon.
Check that out.
Crowdfunding on IndieGoGo right now if you want to support it.
Yes.
But
I am. Do it. It's worth it.
So we wanted to take all the moments we wanted to explore. Like people asked me, how did Tommy find Kyle? Well, that's the second episode. We watch it happen, and we watch it all from Tommy's perspective, and I think that's going to be cool. I think, having the chance to start from the beginning with Tom Matthews involved, and Vinny Guastafara and Doug Tate now, but just bringing it back to Tom, I mean, Tom is the engine for the rest of this story because ultimately this is Tommy's lifelong journey of destroying Jason.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to do it. And I think what the web series really explores is life before and after Kyle MacLeod. We see Tommy and life in Crystal Lake before Kyle MacLeod comes along, and how Jason is hidden, but people go disappearing and nobody can figure it out. And then Kyle MacLeod comes along, and all of a sudden Jason returns, and why. And so Tommy's mission in the web series is to figure out why Jason has chosen this kid to go after, and when he finds out, using that information to go back and destroy Jason once and for all.
Damn, you got me ready for the next one, man.
Ready for this?
I'm ready for the next
right.
one. Oh, God. Was Jason X really necessary?
Yes, and Jason X2 needs to happen tomorrow. I love Jason X. It was the first one I ever got to see in the theater. We had a great time. We counted out the kills. Me and my friends were the only ones in the theater. Was it necessary? Maybe not. But you know what?
Uber Jason? Really?
I mean, have you ever? I mean, it's funny. I would. Let me ask you this: if you were given, an option, would you? If let's say there was something that was streaming and you had the option to see in that streaming series a Jason X2, would you watch it? If it was on Netflix.
Ah, damn it.
And it didn't interfere with the movie that was coming out. Let's say they were doing a movie and it came out in the theater and it was brand new, but also Netflix was releasing new B-movie Friday the 13th that were like spin-offs, and one of them was Jason X2. Would you watch it? I know I would.
Basically, the man likes Jason X. I don't know why, but he likes it.
It's fun.
So anyway, next question. I've heard people refer to Jason in Never Hike Alone as Ghost Jason. Where'd that come from?
So shortly after we released Never Hike Alone, we did a campaign for ghost masks, and so we did like a Blu-ray campaign. We did Ghost Hawks, and at the time I was searching for a name for the mask so I could put it on the website to say I didn't want to put Never Hike Alone mask, or Never Hike Alone hockey mask.
No.
It was just long, or NHA mask. It was like NHA. What was it? And I was pitching names to Brandon Scott Murphy, who runs Sculpt or Die, and I said, I think about, what about the Bone Hawk? And he was like, oh, that's cool. And he was like, but I don't know, it's kind of ghostly to me. What do you think about the Ghost Hawk? And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And so I was pitching that to a friend of mine whose name's Joe. And Joe was like, oh, that's a really cool name. Does that make him Ghost Jason? And I was like, yeah, it does.
I like that.
It was really, it was spurred by my friends and the fans, and we have adopted it, and we've run with it, and now it's his official name.
Oh, okay. I was wondering where that came from, Ghost Jason. By the way, that's actually one of my favorite masks, the Ghost Jason.
Thank you.
That's awesome, dude. Other than that, probably the Friday 13 Part 7, where it's missing here.
Yeah,
it's like
loves that mask.
Yeah,
They call it the Red 7. Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah. Oh, Kane Hodder. That's my favorite Jason. That was my introduction to Jason, actually. So, next question I got for you is, speaking of masks, do you think Jason would be as iconic as he is without the mask?
No, not at all. I would say that the hockey mask has almost everything to do with it.
Really?
I can't imagine another mask, him putting it on, and it being so culturally iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously Michael Myers has his mask. Leatherface has a mask that pretty much changes, but we get it.
Yeah,
Freddy has his fedora, but and his striped sweater and his gloved hand and his burnt face. You have.
I like how you go for the fedora before the claws. That's
well,
great.
yeah, no, but I mean, I was thinking about his face. But
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
got you.
when you see a silhouette of a character's face,
yeah,
it
true.
It kind of lets you know. Like I was kind of concentrating on that, and in with Jason, it's that mask represents that blankness. It kind of does what Michael Myers' mask, but does in another different way. And I don't know how or why, but there's just something about the chevrons, and there's something about the holes in the mask and the empty eyes and the very shark-like. There's been others who have tried. I mean, there's Cropsy. There's My Bloody Valentine. There's
But they just don't get it.
But they don't really have that lightning bolt. And there's something about the hockey mask that is just
that essence of the character.
It just brings something, and you can't explain it. It just does it, and it works.
See, he gets it. See, Mom, I wasn't the only one who liked the Jason mask growing up. Now, here we go. What is the meaning behind the name Whomp Stomp Films?
So when I was a kid, there was I think it was called Star Wars Battlefront.
Okay.
It was a game for Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
And so there were cheat codes
Great
that you
game.
can put in. And one of the cheat codes was called Wampa Stompa. And so Wampa Stompa allowed you to warp into a level and become one of the ice creatures called the Wampas the one that Luke cuts their arm off.
Yeah.
And so basically, you warp into this level, you become a Wampa, you break out of your cage, and then you just start stomping on stormtroopers. And so I loved it. I thought it was like this like weird thing that you get to hijack the game and not really have to play the game because you could just run around as a Wampa and kill everybody and have a lot of fun.
Kind of like God mode, just do whatever the hell you want.
And it was like, I don't know, there was something kind of fun about it, and so that kind of became like an internet name for me ever since then. So it started with like Wampa Stompa, and I use that on basically every, social media handle I had growing up, in the days of like AOL Instant Messenger, and then, Facebook and MySpace and all those different things. And eventually,
damn, MySpace.
I know, I'm telling you, this has been around for a long time, and then eventually I had Whomp Stomp as an Instagram handle for my photography, and I started doing more film work, and so I just expanded it out and said, okay, if I'm doing Whomp Stomp and I'm taking photos and now I'm doing film, I should call it Whomp Stomp Films. And it was really just something to put in front of our first trailer to come up with something, and it stuck, and I think people find it interesting, and it's got a nice ring to it, so I've just stuck with it.
Just go to Whomp Stomp.
And it's just, I talked to somebody the other day that I haven't spoken to since high school. And even they were like, it's so funny you're still using Whomp Stomp, because I remember when you used it. We'll let that pass.
Oh yeah, it was a bus passing in the background. That's fine.
LA. Yeah. No,
welcome to LA.
But no, so it was like they remembered that when I used to use it in high school. So I remember I was like, that's so funny how long it's been around. It's pretty new to everyone else, but as far as I've been Whomp Stomp for the better part of 20 years.
Whomp Stomp. Cool. I gotta check that out. I gotta YouTube that code. Like I'm sure somebody has footage
it's gotta
of
be
it.
Somewhere.
Yeah, of course. That was a great game though. N64, still one of the best systems ever. Not sponsored by Nintendo, but hey, if you somehow watch it, come on now. Now, the 13th question, and last one. You don't have to answer it. You can say no comment if you want to. But what can we expect from the upcoming web series?
Fans, I think, are just going to be in for a real treat. We're trying to do things that have been on the fans' wish list for a long time.
Okay.
And, starting off with Never Hike in the Snow, we're bringing Jason The Snow. Obviously, it's only a 20-minute short entry. It's like a prologue into what would be the feature film. But it sets up story and character, and I think that that's one thing fans can expect from us, is the fact that even though we understand the staples of Friday the 13th, the kills and kind of the campiness, that I think I'm trying to bring a little bit something else into the franchise. And I really want to give Tommy's story justice. I want to do the story of Camp Crystal Lake justice, and I want to do Jason's story justice.
Of course.
So I think it's important that I get to take this opportunity and explore the points of views of different characters within this franchise. Kyle MacLeod, Tommy Jarvis, Jason Voorhees, Rick Cologne, who's, what's Rick like 30 years after losing his best friend, thinking that Tommy is the person responsible. Ghost Jason, living in this camp alone for all these years, trying to stay hidden and secluded.
What was he doing?
What was he doing? And so I think that these are all things that, like, if you would ask the average fan, or like, some of us big Friday the 13th fans, they're like, yeah, these are the things I want to see. And we've come up with very interesting ways to tell those stories in which, it's not going to be your typical Friday where it's just, boobs, blood, sex, drugs, repeat.
Of course,
it's going to
wash and rinse, repeat. Yeah.
It's going to feel like you're watching like an episode of Stranger Things, and their characters are going through journeys and they're growing through life, but at the same time, Jason is involved and this growing danger is involved. And we're going to watch these characters come together in a way that we really want to root for them. And then as the series progresses on, we get some answers that we've never really realized were sitting there the entire time. And I think that that's what's going to be the greatest thing for Friday the 13th fans, is there's things that as we go on, they're going to recognize right away. And when the answers kind of come up, they're going to realize that the answers were always sitting right in front of us the entire time. For me as a Friday the 13th fan, I always saw more in the series than what really had been given to us. It was a cash cow for Paramount.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And for New Line, they were creating the film so they can make money and move on, and they never really thought about the characters, never really thought about the story.
But isn't that a shame when you think about it?
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, that's and they did that, but I don't think the franchise ever intended the fans to take so much to the characters and fall in love with them so much. And I think that that's ultimately where my passion comes from, is I've fallen in love with this character. And I've really gone into studying his story and studying the backstory of his mother and the camp, and thinking of all these ways that, it doesn't have to be cookie cutter anymore, that we can actually tell some stories that feel like they're for adults now. And it's not just a cheeseburger of a film, but that it's a, you know, that it's something that you walk away from and it makes you think.
It has roots to it.
You know,
It really does.
You know, for like Disappear, for example, it's a music video that shows Jason killing 3 kids, but I think within the context of it, there's some depth to his character. You see that there's something going on. There's something ticking under the mask. And
yeah, I saw that too. Like when it starts and he's just sitting there and he's looking. It looks like he's contemplating something.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't think, you know, a zombied creature or whatever he is would, you know, think about something. But he's sitting there obviously thinking something. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, the song was awesome, by the way. And the thing about it was, after he kills them, he takes the bodies back to his, I guess you could say, cabin or whatever that is. Like, why?
Well, if you think about it, if he leaves those bodies out, that's evidence. They're going to go looking for those kids. You know,
but see, that's the thing is...
So who murdered these kids? Now there's a murder investigation, and that's going to draw attention to the camp.
But see, is he a fan of his own... I
you know, I feel like the way that I kind of describe it is that Crystal Lake and the people of it aren't the only ones that are cursed. Jason is also cursed. Jason is cursed to repeat this process till the end of time. I mean, sure, in the 1980s when the wounds were fresh, his mother had just died, he had just come back from the grave, he was full of this rage, he was full of this thing. Every time they woke up, it was a killing spree, and then they put him down, and it was a killing spree, and they put him down, and he'd get back up, and he'd keep going. And I think after a while, after 8 films, or for him 7 films at that time, going into Manhattan, that eventually he started to, you know, understand and get kind of an awareness of what he was and where he was. And that
interesting.
The reason why he is doing this is this to be reunited with his mother. I mean, he does this in her name. He does this in her memory. He does this to avenge her. But ultimately,
very true.
You know, we see him at the beginning of part 2 or at the end of part 2 with the head on the shrine. He misses her. He wants to be reunited with her.
Yeah.
And so I think this Jason that we have in Never Hike Alone is a Jason that is trying to find this. He's trying to be reunited with his mom.
That makes sense. I get what you're saying about that. I never really looked at it that way.
But there's no way he can do it. I mean, he's not going to die anytime soon. I mean, they've tried everything and he won't die. So here he is. He's just here to keep doing this thing. And after many, many years of doing the same thing and killing all these people and never getting any closer to Mother, I think that he is starting to wonder, like, what his purpose is and why he has to do it. But when the time comes and the people show up, he's obliged to do his duty. He carries out the curse and he does it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's sitting and waiting and enjoying it. I think it's a part of what his mission in life is, but I don't know if it's his the one that he wants anymore.
Is it a mission, or like you said, is it a curse? Is it a burden?
Curse.
It's more of a burden.
It really is a burden. I think that that's kind of what we tried to weigh out at the end of Disappear, to see that, like again, I've had to do this again. And, you know, now there's the worry. You know, are they going to come looking for these kids? What am I going to have to do to stay hidden? Like, I don't want this. Because I think at the beginning of Disappear, you see that, like, what you have in Camp Crystal Lake is peace, quiet. In our film, he really does. His mission is to, when people cross into his land, eliminate them and make them disappear. That way he goes undisturbed. And I think that that's, you know, that's kind of like an important thing. And what, like I kind of said before, the catalyst of what happens in Never Hike Alone is Kyle MacLeod refuses to disappear. Kyle MacLeod refuses to die. And Kyle MacLeod, by escaping, has now unveiled Jason's secret that he is still out there. And so now
Jason has to go silence him, basically.
Jason has to go silence him, but Jason has also reached a point where, when we get to that point in the web series, is kind of on a kamikaze mission. He's like, well, if the cat's out of the bag,
I might as well just take everybody with me, basically.
I might as well take as many people down with me as I go.
And then Tommy, he sees Tommy.
And then that's when he sees Tommy, and he realizes that if I'm going to go after, you know, Kyle, I'm going to go after Tommy. But I think that Jason, not that he fears Tommy, but I know that he knows that Tommy's a worthy adversary. And so he's going to take his time and be smart. And I think one other thing you're going to see in, you know, this web series is you're going to see Jason use his head. And we're going to see him be really smart and do some clever things.
A methodical Jason.
A methodical Jason. I think we've seen it a little bit so far. I mean, like, if you watch Disappear, his timing and, you know, attacking the person, or just the way he was very methodical in Never Hike Alone, hunting Kyle down. There's going to be more of that. We're going to see the way he sets up his kills. We're going to see the way that he, you know, traps people and misdirects people, and is really, like, clever in the way that he, you know, baits people into killing them.
What I do like about Never Hike Alone is how actually Jason gets one upped, and that's in one moment. I did like that.
When he plays possum.
Yeah. And he gets the machete, turns around, he's like, wait. And he like looks over and Kyle's running, and he's like, you can hear, like, you can see the body language, just he's
like,
frustrated.
Yeah,
like, he got me.
Just when I thought I had him, and there he is. I think that's kind of like, so I think growing out of the character that we're developing with Jason, I think that now these movements will try to make more sense to the audience in a way, because
you know how I look at your Jason is I look at it as you know how here's the best way I can describe it. In the feature films, he started off human. He had his humanity. As they progressed, his humanity went away, and his brutality grew. He just very kill everything, no, don't feel sympathy for nothing. Whereas yours, it's almost like he still has that same intensity brutality, but he's getting back some of his humanity.
Yeah, I wanted to put the humanity back into his character to realize that he is a conflicted being. He's a conflicted spirit that doesn't know what its purpose is anymore, and won't die. The fans won't let him die because we keep making stuff with him.
Damn right. More Jason.
But I think that it reflects something. I think it's an honest reflection of the character, and our goal with this series is to actually give him a finality. I think in our own certain way. Not to say that ours is the end all be all of Jason's, but I want to see it.
It should be. It's
great. I think with Never Hike Alone, it's all about answering the fans' requests for the things we've always wanted to see. We wanted to see him kill people in certain ways, in certain situations. We wanted to see Tommy come back. And I think for me, I've always wanted to see the true ending to the Paramount era. I feel like we got to part 8, we didn't really get an ending, he just gets washed out to sea, and it wasn't very satisfying.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all.
And then New Line took over, and it took us in a completely different direction.
Yeah,
and I feel like the way that those films ended Jason was done in a way that wasn't satisfying. It wasn't satisfying to me. This doesn't feel like the arc I was on. I don't feel like
it does.
I didn't want to see it jump into the world of the Necronomicon and sending him to hell. I didn't want to see it, the Jason X stuff as far as that being an end for him and he ends up on another planet. That seems pretty silly to me. It didn't feel like a satisfying ending, and I think that what we're trying to come up with is the answer to the story-driven ending of Jason and the Friday the 13th saga.
I treat Jason kind of like, the early Batman films. The first two were, the Tim Burton ones that just set up this amazing universe, and then it goes into that Joel Schumacher, what the hell's going on here, till we got to Batman and Robin.
And then it's just a dumpster fire.
There you go. Or like Spider-Man. The first two, in the Raimi trilogy were great, and then you got that third one where you're like, what the hell's going on? What I mean? It's questionable. And that's how it is. Yeah, absolutely. So, and really, Jason X, you're good with that?
I'm fine.
All right, well, sure. All right, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I know you're a busy
man.
Better
than no Jason.
All right, you got me there. And damn it, the game is not that bad.
I love the game.
It's great. Even though the counselor named George sucks. But whatever, it's all good. I just want to know at Never Hike Alone, are we going to find out who the hell put that no trespassing sign?
Well, I mean, yeah, you'll see.
Okay, yeah, because that's kind of like, why?
What, the no trespassing?
Yeah, remember when he's there and it says no trespassing, and that catches attention.
Well, you remember you know what film that was from? It's the same sign from part 2. It's the same fence.
Oh, is that what it's supposed to be?
It's supposed to be the same fence that Jeff and Sandra find when they're on their way to Camp Crystal Lake from Packanack in part 2.
Oh, okay, so it ties in.
So you see that they're in a very similar boundary, and that's when they first got stalked by Jason, and then the sheriff gets them. I wanted to create a memorable place where Kyle crossed over a barrier, and we see that this is one of the older barriers, so it's low, it's a low fence, and it's the one that people don't usually go to because
the trail isn't even marked.
The trail isn't even marked anymore.
That's true.
It got taken out because people didn't want the people going up there, so it's kind of it's kind of a little Easter egg in there.
So you learn something new every day with this guy. So, anyway, anything else you want to tell to the viewers?
Yeah, just we need your support on our IndieGoGo right now for Never Hike in the Snow, the first installment of the Never Hike Alone web series. You can follow our links at www.whompstompfilms.com or on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at whatever that is /WhompStompFilms. We're on IndieGoGo, so just look up Never Hike in the Snow on IndieGoGo, and we need your help. Please contribute and then share a page with any friends or family you believe will enjoy our film.
I did it. I'm supporting. I've shared it.
Well, thank you very much.
Of course. I think all my friends and viewers, I don't like the word fans, it comes off as douchey. So all the viewers that are watching this, you guys know how much I watch his films. It's great. So support. Shit. Well,
Great.
thank you. I appreciate you so much, man. Take care. So, the man, Vin DiSanti. All right, here we go. George Elias presents.